And family, Jeremy here from Premier Pools and Spas. First, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to your home to take a look at your property and just to discuss this project with you. I really appreciate the time you gave me, giving me kind of a vision of what you're looking for back there. And with that information that I collected from you, I went ahead and put together your first design. Just keep in mind that this is your first design. I fully expect there to be changes that you're going to want to see. And then once we land on a design you love, then I'll go ahead and price it out for you. I think it's really important to get the design right before we give you a proposal, so that way you know that you're getting a proposal for something you absolutely want. And of course, in that proposal, I can give you a lot of options as far in the notes of the proposal. I can give you options for upgrades or ways to save money, et cetera, et cetera. But typically what I do is I go ahead and put together a design that's going to be, pretty dressed up. I want to show you what can happen back there, what could the possibilities are. But of course, then we have to visit your budget and make sure that we're putting something together that's going to meet your budget as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at our 3D design together. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn the sun on, so to speak, and there we go. Awesome. Okay, so what we've got here is a freeform pool. It's a pretty big freeform pool. It does have a beach entry. Now, with the beach entry, you'll have to ignore a couple things here because drawing an actual beach entry in this program isn't the easiest thing. I didn't want to get too tied up with that, but I got it pretty close to what I needed just to illustrate a few points. Now, with the beach entry, I do have a lot of customers wanting beach entries to their pools. But what is really important to understand is that a true beach entry, like a complete beach entry that would go from 0 all the way down to, like, say, a shallow end depth, requires a massive size pool to pull that off. So what I mean here is an appropriate slope, I would say, is 1 to 12. That would be the slope that you would see on a handicap ramp. That's kind of like the guidelines that I like to go with, because that slope is going to give you something that's comfortable to sit on, walk on, et cetera, et cetera. We don't want something that's too steep. So the thing is we have to get to 0 depth to your shallow end depth with a comfortable slope. And if I go take this distance right here from the bottom of the steps that I have here to the front end of the pool, that slope would be so steep that it would be very uncomfortable for you to walk on, and let alone sit on and enjoy in general. So what I've done here is I've made a beach entry, but showed you that we kind of have to terminate that beach entry at some point to get stairs in there so that we can get to a true shallow end of the pool. Otherwise, if you wanted a true beach entry that would go to, say, 3.5 feet, just 3.5 feet would require 36 feet of length in order to give you the best slope. Well, that's getting into like a hotel or resort style pool. So I want to make sure that we get something for you that is going to be realistic for your property. Now, the other thing that we have to keep in mind is, and you can kind of see up here where the circle is, there's a little plaster showing. Like, once again, the program isn't really designed to draw beach entries properly, so you have to kind of finagle it to a certain degree. But the reason I have travertine in this beach entry is because you can't have plaster like what you see up here. The plaster or pebble cannot be exposed to the air without water. It has to be, what happens is it dries out, it starts to crack, and then it just falls apart, right? So you have to have the plaster or pebble finish to be under the water. So what we do is use some type of natural stone paver to go ahead and overlay through that entry, because the stone is fine, but the plaster or pebble is not. So you can't have that extending out to a 0 depth. So I wanted to show you kind of what's required in order to get a beach entry in a residential pool. If this is something that you don't like, what I would recommend is just going back to a tanning deck, right? So you'd step down to 9 inches down into a tanning deck that would be 3 inches under the water. And there you go. Then you can go ahead, and the only thing that's going to be different is that you have to step down into the pool rather than just kind of walking from this 0 entry down into the water. So it's just really up to you. Now, the other thing is if you have any type of beach entry, even this one right here, and you use a robot cleaner to clean your pool, that robot is going to come up on this step right here, and it's going to run right out of the pool, right? So it's going to crawl right out of the pool because there's nothing keeping it in. So beach entries don't work well with robot cleaners. If you went with an in-floor cleaner, you wouldn't have that problem. But in-floor cleaners, of course, that's a line item. That is an upgrade. They're not cheap. They're the best things you can do for your pool, and I'll explain that to you when we have our follow-up meeting. But I wouldn't do a beach entry if you're planning on using a robot, because that robot's just, you're going to be chasing it around the yard, basically. All right, now what I always like to do something in the design that's special. I like to put water features of some sort. Today, I decided to go ahead and put a rain feature. I love the rain features because they're very practical. They work really well. They create that running water noise. It's a beautiful look. Right here, I kind of elevated this 3 feet up, so you have 2 3-foot columns with the cap on top, and then that rain feature is basically running through that cap. But once again, like, these are just features. These are options. I put a bench under there so that, people could sit under that waterfall. But the rain features are really fun, but I want to add something in there just for you to look at to see what the possibilities are. I put a fire pit over here. We can build fire pits, but having a builder build a fire pit that's permanent they're pretty expensive. For about a third of the cost of doing a custom fire pit, you can get a gas-powered portable fire pit and put it anywhere you want. But once again, if you want us to build a fire pit for you, I'd be happy to do that. Now, I played around with the decking a little bit, so we have a Napoli Belgard concrete paver in this design right now, but we could do like travertine pavers. You could do stone concrete pavers. There's all kinds of options is what I'm saying. So I just put one option in there. We do travertine standard on our coping, which would be the perimeter of the pool, right? That's called our coping. And we do travertine standard on the coping because it's just really the best solution. It's going to last forever. It's going to look great. You don't have a lot of grout and stuff holding that in, so you don't have to worry about the salt in the water or the high iron content staining things or causing grout to fail. So travertine really is what we use in, I would say 95% of our pools. For the coping. I have a pebble finish in here, so the pebble is going to be blue surf is the color that it shows. It's the most common color. The pebble comes with a 30-year warranty, but I have yet to see a pebble pool have to be refinished. But if you went with regular plaster, prepare yourself to have to replaster that pool in about 10 years or so. So, and replastering a pool can be very expensive. Replastering the pool like this would probably cost you in 10 years, probably cost you about $15,000 to do. So if you do pebble, you're not going to have to revisit that later. All right, so freeform pool. Let's look at the specs real quick. Let's just look at the size of the pool itself. So let's bring in our smart data. The size of this pool, the envelope is going to be just over 41 feet by just about 21 and a half. So let's call it 41 and a half by 21 and a half roughly. That's going to be that rectangle that will go around that pool. That's what we call the envelope. The area of this pool is 610, almost 611 square feet. That's the surface area of the pool. The volume, we're looking at 14,945 gallons. Our depth right now, as it stands, looks like, let's see, did I go to 5 or 6? I believe it's 5. Yeah, so I have a 5-foot deep end at this point. However, if you have a raised feature like this, people are going to climb up there and probably jump off of it. So you may want to go a little deeper in the deep end, or maybe even put the raised feature over here in the deep end instead of right here. I like to put it on the back end of the pool simply because it's a great feature to look at. And in this feature, you can actually see through it, so it doesn't block the view to the back of the yard. But once again, just the sky's the limit when it comes to features like that. Put a lot of furniture in here. I just wanted to give you a good idea of what can happen in the space. And I also put some landscaping in the space as well. I dressed up the perimeter of the pool. Sometimes I like to get a little fancy with putting some planters around the pool and trimming it out. I like to see a really cool delineation between your hardscape and your grass. But once again, things like this is optional. We don't do the planters. We would just basically stop at the decking, and then you can have a landscaper do whatever you want out there. I went with the tropical theme with the landscaping. But I don't know what your preferences are. You might like more of a traditional theme, and of course, if you do, then I can swap those plants out for something else. And then I also like to draw in lighting. So obviously you have your lighting in the pool, which is something we do. We would put two LED lights in this pool, basically shining from the house side of the pool back towards the back of the backyard, making that pool glow. And if you had a water feature in the back, it would basically make that water feature glow. Super, super cool look. And then I put some landscape lighting around the perimeter of the deck, and I put some up lighting at the trees. Of course, you see that fire pit. That fire pit looks really good over there in the corner. But yeah, I just want to show you what this space could look like with lighting. We don't do the lighting. Now, we could run the low voltage lines, chase lines, so that you can have a landscaping company come in and do the lighting. But we don't do the exterior lighting ourselves. So that's just something that we prefer to leave up to maybe a landscaping company that does that all the time. So they're very, very proficient with it. That's typically our preference there. So, all right. So what we have, once again, gunite pool, freeform, a beach entry, kind of like a pseudo beach entry, trying to make it work for residential. We will do these on occasions, just if people are looking for that look of the beach entry. Just keep in mind that you do have to have some type of stone paver leading into the water, because the plaster or pebble will fail over time if exposed to the air without moisture, without being submerged in the water. All right. Well, with that, I really appreciate your time. Real quick, one more thing before we go. So I matched the elevation of the pool deck up to your existing patio, so you don't have to step down. Of course, we can drop that down 6 inches or 3 inches, however tall your patio threshold is. We can go down and you can step down into the pool. If we marry the existing patio or the new deck up with your existing patio, we would put a channel drain right here so that water wouldn't wash back onto the patio. But you can see here that because your yard slopes, what I did was I pulled dirt up against the outside edge of that pool and then sloped down so that you don't have like an exposed edge or a little wall here that you would have to step off of down into the yard, right? So we would keep that dirt on site, and then when we backfill, we would go ahead and backfill up to the edge of the pool and raise that elevation of that dirt so that we can gently grade everything away from your deck. So there is your first design. I look forward to getting your feedback. We'll go ahead and have our follow-up here very soon. And if you have any questions in the meantime, just give me a call, shoot me a text. Be happy to make any changes you're looking for. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.